The night was unusually quiet in the vast expanse of the Nevada desert. The only sounds were the occasional howl of distant coyotes and the gentle whisper of the wind blowing across Jim Sanders' ranch. Known for its solitude and rugged lifestyle, the tranquility of the night was abruptly broken when a strange, pulsating light caught Jim's attention through the kitchen window. Curiosity overcame his initial hesitation. Grabbing his flashlight, Jim stepped into the cool night air, following the mysterious glow. The light emanated from the far end of his property, near an old, abandoned barn. As he approached, the ground beneath his feet trembled slightly, and the intensity of the light grew, cutting through the darkness like a beacon in the desert. When Jim reached the source, he found something he hadn't expected. It was neither a vehicle nor farming equipment. It was something otherworldly. The object, smooth and cold to the touch, vibrated with an internal energy. Wary but intrigued, Jim circled it, shining his flashlight on its seamless surface in search of clues. Finding none, he stepped back as the capsule's vibrations increased. A soft hum filled the air, and the capsule began to rotate gently. A part of it slid open, revealing a thin blanket wrapped around a small creature. Its light blue, almost translucent skin glowed faintly in the flashlight's beam, and its large, black eyes blinked curiously at Jim. The being was no larger than a human child, but bore distinctly alien features, including elongated ears and an otherworldly aura. Overcoming his initial shock, Jim carefully lifted the alien child from the capsule. He wrapped it in an extra jacket and hurried back to the house, dialing the authorities for help. Within hours, the quiet ranch was swarming with government vehicles and officials, all eager to assess the situation. While the scientists and agents debated in hushed tones, Jim kept a protective eye on the tiny alien, whom he nicknamed Cal after his late father. Despite the chaos, Cal seemed calm, gazing at the stars with a melancholy expression. It was evident that this small being was far from home, lost and alone. Jim's life took an unexpected turn as he found himself at the center of an extraordinary event. Shortly after the arrival of federal agents, a specialized team from an undisclosed government agency arrived to take charge. They explained that Cal needed to be relocated to a secure facility designed for such encounters. Reluctantly, Jim handed Cal over to Dr. Lisa Hammond, a lead scientist who assured him of the child's safety. She recognized the bond between Jim and Cal and promised to maintain communication as the young alien adjusted to its new environment. The facility, hidden deep in the Colorado mountains, combined cutting-edge technology with an environment designed to accommodate alien life. Cal quickly adapted to his new surroundings, his innate curiosity and intelligence captivating the staff. Through advanced techniques, Cal began learning human language, first mimicking sounds, then forming words. His rapid progress astonished the scientists. Dr. Hammond and her team worked tirelessly to understand his physiology and abilities, discovering unique traits like bioluminescence and faint telepathic abilities. Cal shared fragmented memories of his home world, Viridia, a lush planet of glowing forests, vibrant rivers, and a breathtaking aurora-lit sky. These glimpses, projected through advanced neuroimaging technology, evoked both awe and sorrow among the scientists. As Cal's story unfolded, so did the challenges. Word of his existence leaked, sparking media frenzy and conspiracy theories. Public curiosity turned to fervor, and demonstrations, both supportive and hostile, erupted across the country. Amid the growing tension, Jim remained a steadfast advocate for Cal. Their bond reminded everyone of the universal need for connection and compassion, transcending species and galaxies. They propagated the idea that AI's advanced abilities posed a threat to human sovereignty and security. This group gained a considerable following driven by fear and misunderstanding, and soon its rhetoric shifted from online forums to public demonstrations as tensions rose. The safety of Kyle and the facility staff became a priority. Security measures were reinforced, and Jim, who had become a strong advocate for Kale's well-being, was particularly concerned about the impact of this negative attention on Kale's mental health. For his part, he couldn't quite understand the complexities of human fears, but he felt the growing unease around him. One night, the inevitable happened. A group of xeno-skeptics managed to infiltrate the facility, disguised as a television crew, and gained access to document the ongoing scientific research. Their true intentions were much more nefarious. They planned to kidnap Kale, believing that, by removing him from what they perceived as government propaganda, they could expose what they thought was the truth about alien threats. The breach was quickly detected thanks to advanced intelligence, security systems of the facility, and a blockade was initiated. Dr. Hammond, with the help of her security team, managed to intercept the group before they could reach Kale. However, the incident left everyone shocked and forced the facility to reevaluate its protocols, security, and the decision to keep Kale's existence secret. The team subsequently worked to reinforce not only physical security, but also its legal status. Dr. Hammond turned to international organizations and diplomatic channels to establish a framework for Kale's rights as a sentient from another world. This was a legally and ethically groundbreaking territory that required delicate negotiations and careful consideration of the situation. Throughout this ordeal, Jim's relationship with Kale provided a comforting constant for the young alien. Gene spent hours with Kay teaching him about the Earth, its cultures, and the diversity of human behavior. This education helped Kale better understand the complexities of his situation and reinforced his trust in those who cared for him despite the challenges. This period also sparked a global conversation about the potential for coexistence, peaceful with extraterrestrial life. Kale became for many a symbol of hope, representing new possibilities of understanding and cooperation in the universe. Meanwhile, Dr. Hammond and her team remained alert, determined to protect Callie while fostering a positive environment for her to grow and learn free of fear and prejudice. The attempted abduction of Kale by the skeptical sign had left palpable tension in the facilities. Despite the rapid response during the incident, it was a clear reminder of the vulnerabilities that come with hosting an extraterrestrial being on Earth. Dr. Lisa Hammond, feeling the weight of responsibility, increased security measures and initiated a series of protocols designed to prevent something like this from happening again. However, the exposure of the kidnapping attempt only intensified public curiosity and further emboldened the skeptical. The group's rhetoric became increasingly hostile, culminating in a well-coordinated plan that took advantage of a rare moment of vulnerability during a scheduled transfer of Kale to a more secure facility. This time they managed to kidnap Kale, using sophisticated jamming equipment to temporarily interrupt the surveillance and communication systems of the facility. Upon discovering Kale's disappearance, Dr. Hammond and her team were devastated but acted quickly. Jim, who had developed a deep paternal bond with Kale, insisted on being part of the rescue operation, along with a select team of facility security personnel and some trusted government agents who embarked on a high-risk mission to recover Kale before he was harmed or his location completely disappeared. Using the last known signals from jamming equipment and collaborating with security services, intelligence, the federal team tracked the skeptics to a remote compound in the mountains. The site was heavily fortified, suggesting that this group was more than just a group of conspiracy theorists. They had significant resources and were potentially backed by larger entities and were not revealed. The rescue team approached the complex under cover of darkness, using night vision equipment and silent communication devices to avoid detection. Dr. Hammond coordinated the operation from a mobile command center, providing real-time updates and strategic guidance based on Jim's surveillance data. Despite not being a trained operative, he played a crucial role in the operation. His connection with Kale became invaluable when they needed to search the compound silently without alarming the kidnappers. As they approached Kale's waiting area, Jim was able to communicate with Kale telepathically, a skill they had honed during their time. Together, frightened but unharmed, Kale responded by guiding Jim and the team to their location. The rescue was tense and fraught with danger. Just as the team reached Kale, they were ambushed by several guards. The armed men followed a brief but intense confrontation, during which the team managed to subdue the guards without suffering serious injuries with security. They quickly withdrew from the complex, covering their tracks and avoiding further confrontation with the remaining Zos. Back at the facilities, the reunion was emotional. He clung to a visibly shaken but relieved Jim. Dr. Hammond and her team were deeply shocked by the ordeal. strengthening their resolve to protect Kale and ensure her safety. The incident prompted a reevaluation of their approach to manage the presence of Kale on Earth by focusing more on its personal well-being and less on the scientific curiosity it aroused. Safety protocols were subsequently reviewed, and discussions about the future of Kale intensified. The event demonstrated not only the dangers it faced, but also the deep connections he had forged with those who cared for him. This terrible experience catalyzed a change of perspective in the facilities, where Kale was no longer just a subject of study, but a young being with rights, emotions, and a need for protection and care. After the heartbreaking rescue, the atmosphere around the facilities changed dramatically. The staff became more protective of Kale, and there was a collective shift towards considering his emotional and psychological well-being as much as his physical safety. Kale's ordeal with the skeptical sinuses had left some emotional scars, and the facility hired specialists to help him cope with trauma. Jim's presence was a constant comfort to Key, giving him a sense of family and belonging as Kale recovered. Discussions about his long-term future began to take center stage. Dr. Lisa Hammond, who had been at the forefront of the defense of Kay's well-being, initiated these conversations, involving not only the scientific community, but also ethics boards, international policymakers, and, most importantly, Kale himself. Kale, now more articulate and understanding of human languages and emotions, expressed his desire to know more about his origins. If it is possible to reconnect with his home planet Viridia, his growth in human society had been profound, but he still felt an attraction towards the stars, an intrinsic longing for the world. He saw in his fleeting memories that Jim supported Key's wish by seeing it not only as a step towards fulfilling Kay's personal wishes, but also as a potential bridge for peace and understanding between Earth and Viridian. Dr. Hammond proposed a bold initiative to utilize the technology that Kale had brought with him, along with his own advancements, to try to locate Viridia. This project is called Operation Homie. Would be an important task that would require international cooperation and the pooling of global scientific resources. The initiative received mixed reactions. Although many members of the scientific community were enthusiastic about the prospects for tales, communications, and interstellar travel, others were wary of the implications. Debates and discussions followed that addressed the technical challenges, the risks of contacting an extraterrestrial civilization, and the ethical considerations of such an endeavor. Despite the challenges, consensus gradually shifted toward support for the project, driven by broader understanding. Governments and private entities around the world offered resources and funding attracted by the project's potential to usher in a new era of technological advancement and interstellar diplomacy. The project team was formed by top scientists, engineers, and strategists from various fields. Cole was involved at every step, and his unique knowledge of technology and psychic abilities proved invaluable. Under the leadership of Dr. Hammond, the team worked tirelessly to decipher and adapt Viridian technology by integrating it with the human advances to create a prototype communication device capable of crossing the stars. Months of rigorous testing and development culminated in a significant breakthrough. The device, powered by a combination of human and Viridian technology, successfully sent a message into the depths of space directed where Kay's memories suggested he would be Viridian. The world held its breath as they waited for a response, hoping for a signal that would not only confirm Viridian's existence, but also potentially change the course of human history. In the midst of this scientific milestone, Key prepared for any outcome with the support of Jim. Dr. Hammond and the entire team remained hopeful but realistic about the possibilities, regardless of whether his people could be reached or not. Key knew he had found a second family on Earth. He had done everything possible to help him get there. First, anticipation was palpable as the world waited for a response to the message sent towards Viridia. Days turned into weeks with no sign, and global enthusiasm began to wane, except within the walls of the facility, where hope remained firm. Kay especially spent many nights looking at the stars, wondering if her family was doing the same thing, looking towards the Earth. Then, just as the project team was beginning to consider the possibility that the message had not received a response, the newly created Deep Space Monitoring Array detected a weak signal. The signal was weak but unmistakably artificial, and carried with it patterns that Kale recognized as similar to those in his own memories. The joy and relief were overwhelming. Kale's home planet, Viridia, received his message and responded with confirmation of intelligent life and the ability to communicate with Viridia, the project had entered. New phase diplomatic protocols were quickly established, and the United Nations formed a special committee to handle extraterrestrial communications. Key became a central figure in these developments, serving as a kind of ambassador bridging the gap between human and human cultures. Viridiana communications with Viridiana, a civilization eager to reconnect with K, whom they had mourned as lost. They explained that Kale's capsule had been part of a scientific exploration mission gone awry, and that its accidental trip to Earth was an unintended consequence of its technology. The Viridians were peaceful, advanced, and shared many of the human aspirations for knowledge and exploration once the foundations for interrelations were laid. The final step was the most ambitious yet. To establish physical contact, engineers and scientists of the Earth and Viridia collaborated to design a spacecraft capable of making the trip between the two planets. The ship, called Viridian Hope, was a marvel of technology that embodied the combined advances and aspirations of both worlds. As launch day approached, emotions ran high. Kale would return to Viridia, accompanied by a select team, including Dr. Lisa Hammond, who would become his guardian and mentor, and Jim, his faithful companion. The earthly crew received training not only in the technical aspects of the mission, but also in cultural exchange and diplomatic relations, preparing them for their roles as Earth ambassadors. Departure Day was a global event watched by billions of people around the world. People from all nations celebrated the achievement and the promise it holds for the future. Cooperation in space exploration, as Viridian's Hope took off. Cheers and applause echoed around the world. The journey to Viridian was long, but the spaceship was equipped with the best technology to ensure the safety and comfort of its crew. Keel spent the time teaching his friends, humans, about culture, the language, the Viridian language, and what to expect upon arrival. The excitement of seeing his home planet mixed with the sadness of leaving another behind, but the presence of his friends made the transition easier. When Viridian Hope finally entered Viridian airspace, the sight of lush, glowing forests and vast oceans filled the crew with awe. Key stood at the front with his eyes wide with tears and joy as he caught his first glimpse of the world he had left when he was a child. The Viridians welcomed them with open arms, and a great celebration that marked a new chapter in universal harmony back on Earth. The mission was hailed as a turning point in human history, the moment when Earth truly passed into being part of a larger cosmic community for K. The journey was more personal, a return to his roots and a reunion with his original family, to whom he introduced his human family. Together, they hoped for a future in which Earth and Viridian would not only share technology and space, but also friendship and a united vision of the cosmos.